And this one looks like a lot of fun, and I will most likely be backing this one because this one is a real-time game, which is a genre that I'm normally not a huge fan of, but I think this one does it really, really well. And on top of that, this is a game that just takes minutes to teach and play because the way that this game works is that each player is going to be controlling their own fleet of ships, and you're going to be starting the game by putting out a few asteroids out on the board as well as each of the players' home bases. But then the game just plays over 8 10-second rounds where players are going to be flipping one of their tiles and then placing it out on the board in a position that hopefully scores them the most victory points at the end of the game. Once you place the ship down, you're not able to move it for the rest of the game, and all the victory points for this game are scored at the end of the game depending on the position of your ships and your opponents, and you're going to be scoring those by activating them in their initiative order because each of the ships are going to have a number on the ship, and that's going to dictate in what order those ships are going to activate, and if they have the same number, they're going to be activating simultaneously. And there are a bunch of different ways to score victory points in this game. You're going to be getting victory points for dealing damage to other ships, dealing the most damage to a ship when it is destroyed, and then also you can shoot at asteroids in order to collect minerals, and if a ship has minerals on it and it survives to the end of the game, you're going to be getting victory points for each of the minerals that that ship has. But then you'll also be getting additional points if your base isn't destroyed at the end of the game, and there's going to be these different sponsors that can vary from game to game that can also introduce different rules and different ways to score victory points that will make that game play a little bit differently from any others. Each of the ships can also have a different amount of damage that they can take before they're destroyed, and they can also have different colored lasers of different power that do deal different amounts of damage. And some of these ships can also have shields that you'll want to position in such a way to reduce the amount of damage that you might take from opponents around you. Of course, the campaign does offer different components and tokens in order to keep track of all of this, but what is really awesome about this specific campaign is that they actually have an app that will do all of this final scoring for you. And I know a lot of us might be scared off by an app, but I really do think this is a really nice addition to this particular game because it's not required to actually play the game, but it's just a really nice thing to make that final scoring a lot faster and also pretty fun because it's going to animate every attack that happens between the various ships. And all you have to do is take a picture at the end of the game, and then it's going to play out all the sequence of events in that specific battle, and all the players can watch that play out and see what those final scores amount to without a whole lot of overhead from the players. And I admit I am one to avoid app-driven games, but I wouldn't really put this in that same category, and using an app just to work out that final scoring I don't think qualifies it as an app-driven game. It just seems more like an app-assisted game, and I have absolutely no problem with that. I do have other games in my collection that I have downloaded apps in order to help with that final scoring, and I think this one does it in a really fun way. But if you absolutely don't want any apps touching your table, like I said, they still will be offering the analog components if you do want to do all that manually. This one looks like a lot of fun, and I'm super excited to check this one out, and if you are as well, you can find a link to it in the description down below.